your feedback, and I would greatly appreciate your participation. So do me a favor, I'm going to cover a lot here. So if you have questions or something doesn't make sense that I'm saying, because I'm going to really go through a lot of strategies, I'd really appreciate it if you gave me your questions and or feedback in the question box to the right of the screen. So if I haven't covered them during the presentation, I can address them at the end. And I am recording this, so you're going to get a replay DVD so you can review it again and again, and you can use it for your ongoing staff training, because this is all about never-ending improving on your systems. And so I'll present for probably around 45 minutes, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. So I really do want your feedback and your questions, because it helps all of us. When you have a question, there's a good chance somebody else has the question. And then I'll stay on the call until our questions are answered. So with that, I am going to hit the record button and we'll get going. Hello everyone, and welcome to this online training entitled How to Convert More Consultations. This training is for anyone and everyone who's involved in the patient consultation process, and that includes staff as well as physicians. So here's a sampling of what you'll discover during this training. We'll talk about 2 tipping points that get any potential patient to immediately trust you and see you as an authority, 5 simple closing phrases that get your patients to a yes, how to handle objections like, I need to think about it, and turn that into a yes before they leave your office, and the giant mistake too many patient coordinators make when discussing price. And just in case you're not familiar with me, I am Catherine Maley, the author of a popular book called Your Aesthetic Practice, What Your Patients Are Saying. And I'm the creator of several patient attraction and staff training products and services. So I speak all over the country as well as internationally, and I write for the top medical publications in the industry. So for the past 15 years, I've run cosmetic image marketing, where we specialize in growing aesthetic practices using creative marketing tools and done-for-you services to get you more patients, more profits, and better trained staff. Now, before I continue, I want to give you a 4-letter word alert. You ready? Here it is. It's the word no, as in, I know that. There's a really good chance you're going to be saying that throughout this training. So let me just say this. If you know something and don't do it, you don't really know it. So if you stay open-minded and embrace these strategies and actually practice and implement them in your patient consultations regularly, I guarantee you'll see better results and more conversions. And why do we care? Because times have changed. We are painfully aware of how much things have changed. It is way too competitive to be mediocre today. It's also way too costly to attract a new patient into your practice only to lose them because you didn't have the knowledge and the strategies to get them to a yes. So today, you're going to get the tools, the scripts, and the strategies to make your life easier and more fulfilling as well as more productive. You'll have more clarity about the patient consultation process, and that'll make you more comfortable bonding with the patient, and they'll be more comfortable saying yes to you. So this is a win-win for everyone. Because if you don't get really good at this bonding, educating, and converting these consultations, you're going to burn out and get frustrated because it's exhausting to put all this energy into new patient consultations and not close them. You'll feel like you let your doctor down, and you'll feel like you're wasting your time and you're not cut out for this, and on and on. But the real reason is because you don't have a system in place, so you're winging it with what you know and hoping it works. The good news is we'll change that today. So let's start with the psychology of the aesthetic patient. So what is the aesthetic patient really buying? What I learned when I interviewed many cosmetic patients for my book is that they're doing a cost-benefit analysis in their heads to decide if what you're offering them is worth the money, the time, and the effort. If asked why they're interested in cosmetic enhancement, your patients are most likely telling you things like, I want to stay competitive in the marketplace, to look as good as I feel, I'm newly single and I want to start dating, I'm attending a class reunion. But just know it goes so much deeper than that. Emotionally, they're buying time, recognition, as in they want to still matter, prestige, happiness, and love. Now, the bottom line is they want to feel better, and they believe looking better will make them feel better about themselves. So they're really buying hope and happiness. Hope that you'll give them a good result and they'll be happier. So your job is to help these patients know you are the right practice for them and you can give them those feelings of hope and happiness. Now, I think we all know how fickle these consumer patients can be, right? When cosmetic patients are willing to pull out their credit card to spend many thousands of dollars on elective procedures to look and feel better, they're expecting a certain level of customer service. This is an emotional game we're playing, and the aesthetic patient wants and demands to be heard, understood. They want to be treated respectfully. They want to feel important and comfortable and significant, because this industry is all about feelings. And think about how difficult this process can be for your patients. This consultation with you is probably awkward and it's uncomfortable for them. They want to change something about their appearance that makes them feel insecure or unsure of themselves. And they're hoping that fixing, repairing, or enhancing it will make them feel better. They feel vulnerable and they're looking to you for help. Now, that said, it's important to note that patients want to avoid making a bad choice. They do not want to regret their decision. So a major role of the patient coordinator is to make the prospective patient comfortable so they like and trust you enough to move forward. You want to reassure them they're in the right place with the right physician for the right procedure, and they'll be happy with their result. By the way, if a prospective patient is afraid or confused, they'll decide to do nothing. It's also your job to help them understand their options so they make a good decision. Because the aesthetic patients are more confused than ever. They have so many choices and they're overwhelmed with the amount of information available today. So they're looking to you for help. And please remember, while you've been through this many, many times, this is often their first time. Think about the last time you had to go on an appointment where you didn't know what to expect. Maybe it was an attorney's office or an accountant's office to get your taxes done. It can be pretty uncomfortable, right? So the decision-making process is an entire subject on its own. However, here are some basics to remember. Decisions are quickly reached by emotion and then justified with logic. And here's a really good one. People act on prejudices, habits, and past experience much more than on factual knowledge. Boy, is that the truth if you think about it. And it takes a patient a split second to make a decision, but getting ready to make that decision can take a long time. So here's the pearl. Too many practices are trying to take the 0 to 60 approach with brand new patients. It's just too fast. The patient who has never met you before is supposed to meet you, listen to you, and sign up for expensive procedures all within about an hour or less. And that's just not how most people are wired. The aesthetic patient is looking for a connection with you. They need to feel they know you and they're comfortable with you before they decide to spend money with you. They need to ease into a decision. And of course, this can vary depending on the money and the scope of procedure to perform. So a lot more should be happening at the front end before the prospective patient meets the physician. It's your job as the patient coordinator to build up your physician and the practice in the eyes of the prospective patient so they're more open and trusting of the physician and the recommendations. So when you set the stage properly, the patient should be much more likely to come to a decision because the heavy lifting of promoting the physician and the practice has been done already. So how do you do that? Well, here are the steps that work very well to get a cosmetic patient through your processes so they say yes instead of, I gotta think about it, or I need to speak to my husband. Ever hear that? So first, it starts with the right patient coordinator with the right attitude. This may sound obvious, but I've been in way too many practices where the coordinator does not believe in the physician or in aesthetic enhancement for that matter. Patients can smell negativity and indifference a mile away, and it's a major turnoff. So make sure you're in the right role and playing your A game whenever you are interacting with cosmetic patients. Be upbeat and positive, and you'll notice a difference in how patients react to you. You generally have to like working with patients so they know you care about them as a person and you truly want to help them solve a problem they believe they have. The consultation starts with a pre-consult call to the new patient who has scheduled a consultation. Tell them you're sending them pre-information as well as the patient forms, and go the extra step to complete them out as much as possible for the patient so they don't have to fiddle with them, and that can save them time and hassle at their appointment. Now, these forms can be mailed ahead of time as an attachment, or for a more dramatic effect, get your webmaster to upload them onto your server so your prospective patient can simply click a link in your email that's welcoming them to your practice to avoid having them download documents. That already shows them you're tech savvy and you're easy to work with. Now, on this call, you are set to expect. So explain to them 4 things they can do to prepare. Okay? Number 1, be on time, and you'll be on time as well, because making a new patient wait will hurt every other step in your process. Tell them to allow about an hour because you don't want them rushing out. Tell them what happens step by step during the consultation so they get excited about visiting. Number 2, have them check their calendar and say something like, Sarah, this procedure typically has downtime of 3 to 5 days, and Dr. Smith is pretty booked out, so we want to be sure we can find a date that works for you should you decide to move forward. So it'd be helpful if you bring your calendar with you so we can check your schedule. Number 3, now you want to talk about money by saying something like, Connie, as you know, this procedure can run anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000. Now, of course, you can pay it all in full using your own credit card, or we offer easy pay plans. We'll talk about all that in more detail during the consultation. I just wanted to let you know we're here to help make this happen for you. Okay? And then number 4, tell them to feel free to bring their spouse or friend or whomever is supporting them in this decision. That way they can get their own questions answered and they can help the prospective patient make the best decision now. So ask them, is there someone you'd like to bring with you? This type of pre-call sets the tone as well as the expectations that you're confident they will like what they see when they visit, and they'll be much more prone to decide because you've taken away their objections now, not at the end of the consultation when you're blindsided by, I have to talk to my husband, or I'll have to check my calendar, or I can't afford this. Now you want to send them your welcome package, which I like to call your shock and awe package, because this is your brag piece and it explains why you're the best choice over all of your competitors. Now, hard copy is better, but if you're in a hurry, email a streamed PDF that can be a link in an email like the one I just showed you. That way, they don't have to download a bunch of attachments. That is so annoying. This should be your package of high-quality materials consisting of a welcome letter with your handwritten comments, explanation of each step in your process of the consultation, so they expect to spend time with you. Simple FAQs on the procedure they're interested in. Patient testimonials who have had that particular procedure. Before and after photos with great results of that procedure. A practice brochure and a menu of services so they know all you offer. A DVD of you, your staff, your office, and your patient testimonials. And a really nice touch is a gift, such as your product samples. And then information on easy pay plans, credit cards you accept, as well as helpful resources for post-op care, including transportation and a comfortable recovery. Let me repeat, the point here is to answer their objections now, so there are no big surprises during the consultation. Now, I know some of you save all this for in-person, but just know you will waste more time on price shoppers than save time with those truly ready to move forward. By the way, here's a creative way to position the physician. Design the Meet the Doctor piece for your shock and awe package that includes his or her career highlights, PR media coverage, experience, skills and education, medical association memberships, the number of procedures and/or procedures the physician has performed, as well as personal notes about community pro bono work, their family, and hobbies. This turns the physician into a multifaceted human being the patients can better relate to, and that leads to trust and credibility. So why bother with the time, the money, and the expense of this welcome packet? Because it's more important than ever to do what you can to convert every appropriate lead that comes your way. It's no longer about the quantity of sales leads you get. It's about the quality of leads you get and that you can convert into a yes. So the shock and awe welcome package differentiates you. It shows your professionalism. It decreases no-shows, and it stops price shoppers in their tracks, because putting so much effort in at the beginning tells them you take your profession and time seriously, and you expect them to do the same. And it'll help the patient emotionally as well as logically choose you, because an educated patient is more likely to move forward. So let's talk about the initial patient visit. This is where you educate the prospective patient in your reception area. The visiting patient should be treated like a special guest in your home and offered coffee, tea, or water, as well as the restroom, and then educated further with a testimonial album filled with patient surveys, notes, accolades, and emails thanking you for such a great result. Also, digital photo frames full of before and after photos of the nice results they can expect from the procedures you offer. This is an inexpensive technology that's eye-catching, silent, and it shows off your skill and expertise. And then photo albums of the procedure they're interested in. I learned in my book, the more photos, the better, because it was more credible and it showed the experience of the physician. And by the way, it's very important to show a variety of demographics so the patient can see themselves in the photos. Now, for the first impression that lasts a really long time, it's imperative you build trust and a friendly connection with the new patient immediately upon meeting them. The first minute is crucial in setting the tone for the entire visit, so it's vital they feel comfortable and at ease enough to open up to you. So what do you do to bond? You greet them with a great warm smile, eye contact, and a friendly hello and a handshake. You show interest in them as a person first, and then as a patient later. You can now give the new prospective patient a tour of your office so they feel more comfortable. And you can walk by and point out your wall of fame. And your wall of fame consists of patient thank you letters, your physician with celebrities, PR pieces, pro bono work, anything that helps the patient feel like they know the doctor better. Now it's time to impress the prospective patient while they're in the exam room or whatever room it is waiting for the physician. And that can include the medical degrees that are framed and prominent. A flat panel monitor can be mounted on the wall so the visiting patient can watch a 3D procedural video of the procedure they're interested in, as well as videos of patient testimonials, and especially a video from the physician welcoming the new patient to the office and urging them to be comfortable, candid, and open, so together you can come to a satisfactory decision. Now it's time for you, the patient coordinator, to bond even more with the visiting patient. Bonding with the patient is the most important part of your consultation, because if they're not comfortable with you, they're never going to open up about what they really want. So rule number 1 is to be interested in them as a person first, patient second. Think about how you start a new relationship or a new friendship. You find something you have in common with that person, and then you share and they share. They're going to share so much more with you if they think you're interested in them as a person. So get the new patient talking about their favorite subject, which is them. Ask them about their life. Use the patient intake form to comment on some of their responses, such as the patient who referred them, where they work or live, their occupation, or their family. And use their name. People love to hear their name, so use it, but don't abuse it. The point is to talk with them conversationally about their family, their work, their hobbies, to find commonalities you have with them so they feel more connected to you. That's what puts them at ease and gets them talking. Now uncover the problem by being curious and asking questions, such as, "So, Connie, what can I help you with today?" Or, "What seems to be bothering you?" Or, "Karen, what brings you here today?" You can go so far as to ask more questions. "Connie, how long has this bothered you?" Or, "What's prompting you to do something about it now?" Or, "Oh, your girlfriend had it done. What was her experience like?" Active listening is needed here. While they are telling you, you want to nod, look at them, and take notes so they know you're listening carefully. You're trying to understand their reasons and perceptions as to what they want and why they want it. Let them talk is the point, because the more they are heard, the more they will feel connected to you, and that will lead to more trust, and it'll get you closer to a yes. Now you want to reassure them they're in the right place. And you do that with verbal cheerleading, such as, "Karen, this is one of our most popular procedures, and more than 30,000 women have this procedure performed each year." Or, "Connie, you've come to the right place. Dr. Smith's performed more than 1,500 of these procedures, so you'll be in great hands." This is also a good time to show you understand by relaying another patient story that's similar to this patient's. That helps them know you understand them completely. Now, if you can get the patient to visualize and articulate how their life will improve and how much better they'll feel after having this procedure, they'll most likely say yes, because now they're emotionally bonded to the procedure and hopefully to you too. Some questions to help lead them to those feelings are, "How do you think your friends and family will react when they see you, Sue?" Or, "How do you see this changing your life?" Or, "Our patients tell us how much more confident they feel afterwards. Do you see that for yourself too?" Just ask one or two of these questions and then sit back, zip it, and let them talk. Even if there are silent pauses, especially if there are silent pauses, because that means they're considering your questions and they're visualizing how they'll feel after they have this procedure done. Allow them to answer your questions completely. It can be so tempting to interrupt with your solution, but you'll get more of their attention if you first give them your undivided attention. So here's the pearl. Qualify during the bonding process, not at the close. One of the reasons you have objections at the end of the consultation is because you didn't ask enough questions at the beginning. So asking questions is what gets them to open up and think it through. It also helps both of you to understand where they're at in the decision-making process. So just ask practical questions such as, "We offer a concierge service that takes care of you after your surgery. Would you like to hear more?" This is so important because there's a chance one of their objections is they don't have someone to drive them home, or they don't have someone to help them during recovery, but they're too embarrassed to tell you that. Now, another one is finance. For example, "Connie, would you be interested in hearing about our patient easy pay plan options? Or will you be using your own credit card?" Or, "Sally, to save us some time, shall I look into patient easy pay plans for you while you're in with the doctor? I can let you know your options when you come back." And in today's competitive arena, you might as well know where you stand by asking additional questions such as, "Have you talked to anyone else? What are you looking for in a cosmetic surgeon? What are you going to base your decision on? What's most important to you when picking a surgeon?" When you ask these questions, you need to then sit back, zip it, and let the patient talk. If you've bonded with them, they'll tell you an awful lot about where their head is at, so you know how to move forward. Now, as a side note, I highly recommend using silent selling tools that are available in our industry, because a picture really is worth 1,000 words. They not only help you understand the patient's wants, they help the patient see, feel, and touch their own results, because it's so much more compelling for the patient to see themselves versus looking at a stranger's results. I can tell you the patients want this. In my book, more than 90% of the patients wanted computer imaging to help them see the possibilities. Now you hand the patient your recent newsletter or have the patient look at photos while you have your hallway huddle with the physician. You want to tell your physician the facts about the patient's wants, their hot buttons, any beware spots they should know about, and how close the patient is to making a decision based on a 1 to 10 scale. Now here's the story to help elaborate this point. I was in an office where a patient told the patient coordinator she was referred by her hairstylist to this particular surgeon because this hairstylist loved the surgeon, and she told her he was the best. Now, the backstory was that the prospective patient had just learned through the grapevine that her husband was divorcing her, so she wanted to use her credit card with a $20,000 limit to get as much face and body work done as she could before the card was closed out. Wouldn't that information help your surgeon know how to approach this woman during her consultation? Her hot buttons were timing and maximum procedures performed. She wasn't going to shop around, and she just wanted this procedure done now. So that is what your physician would concentrate on during that consultation. It's not always about money is the point. Now, the patient consults with the doctor, and I have an entire talk on that, but that's for another time in another online training. So that happens, and the doctor then returns the patient to you, the patient coordinator, to wrap it up. So before you jump into your presentation, you'll want to check in with the prospective patient to get their feedback. Ask open-ended questions and listen carefully to their answers. For example, Karen, so what'd you think about Dr. Smith? Or, did Dr. Smith answer all your questions? How are you feeling about all this, Karen? If there's any type of a negative vibe, you want to just keep asking more questions. But if there's a positive vibe and they're looking at you and engaged, then just continue. Prepare your quote and print out a computer form versus a handwritten quote, and I'll tell you why. The patients are less likely to negotiate with a computer-generated form than they are with your handwriting. And while you're doing that, the patient should stay engaged. They should be watching patient testimonials and going through your before and after photos, as well as looking at themselves in mirrors, face and or body mirrors, by the way, and that helps them stay focused on the problem they want to solve. Now, since you're going to be discussing numbers, this is a good time to ask you, how is your own money mindset? In my years of consulting and training staff, I've noticed it's very common for the staff to get weird around the subject of money. They often tense up when big numbers are presented because they personally would never spend that kind of money on aesthetic rejuvenation. So let me give you a different perspective that could help. Stop judging what patients can and cannot afford and stop spending their money for them. Think about the Beverly Hillbillies. I hope you all know who they are. You just never know a person's financial wherewithal. And the reality is, people want what they want. For some, it's all about their car. For others, having a satellite dish is their number one top priority. And for others, it's about looking good and feeling great about themselves. So just because you may not see the value in it doesn't mean they don't. Please keep that in mind. Now you want to present the quote. First, recap what the patient has told you they want so they know you understand them. Next, this is the second time to position the physician by recapping how many of these procedures your surgeon has done and reiterate their skills and expertise. You're building value and differentiating your practice from all others. So the patient feels comfortable and reassured they will get a good result and not regret their decision. And by all means, if you haven't already, now is a really great time to share your own story if you've had this procedure done yourself. So when going over the quote, explain each line item in detail, talk as if they are moving forward, and use the upbeat verbal cheerleading to explain why things cost what they do. By the way, it's more effective when the patient coordinator sits side by side with the patient rather than across a desk. Since the desk acts as a barrier, it can hurt the bonding process. So here's an example of presenting a quote. Karen, let's go over this together so you can see what goes into the total cost. Now, both procedures should take about 3 hours, so the OR time will run 1,500. Now, we use Sunshine Surgical Center because it's brand new with the latest equipment, and you can get in and out with easy and private parking. Now, our anesthesiologist, Dr. Carter, is amazing, and his fees are $1,200. Dr. Carter will call you ahead of time to go over all your questions so you're completely comfortable with the process. And then Dr. Smith's surgical fees are $3,000. So the total is $5,700, and this also includes your post-op garments and all of your post-op visits. How does that sound? Now, you must stay quiet and wait for the patient to respond because you're looking for buy-in from the patient before moving forward. If the patient is hesitant, ask more questions to get their buy-in, such as, are you with me? Does this make sense to you? What do you think about this? Now, if the patient is agreeing, nodding, and completely engaged, can continue to move forward to the next step, which is to ask for a decision. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the difference between an okay patient coordinator and a converting rock star. This takes confidence and it takes courage. The patient is looking to you for guidance and isn't going to hand it to you. You have to ask for it. And keep in mind, you've earned the right to know where they stand. This is not high pressure because you've already set the foundation for a decision to be made. Remember, they received your shock and awe packet. They saw your raving patient testimonials. They viewed your patient before and after photos of great results other patients have gotten. They saw your wall of fame. They had a great consultation with the doctor, and they spent plenty of quality time bonding with you. So this is the next logical step. Just keep it calm and conversational. Your prospective patients may need some nudging from you, professionally nudging. Some of them may feel selfish spending their family's money on such vanity issues, or they may not feel worthy of such indulgence. Addressing their emotional needs is often the difference between let me think about it, to, yes, I am ready for me. Here are some subtle closing techniques you can use that help the patient move forward. The assumptive approach means the question is not will they book, but when will they book? Assume the patient will book by naturally moving the process forward by going to your computer while saying, Helen, let's see what the schedule looks like so you have an idea when you can have this done. Now, if they don't object, it's a yes and they're moving forward, so just keep going and book it. Another natural way to complete a consultation is to ask a question that gives a choice rather than yes or no. Psychologically, the patient is then asking themselves what they should do rather than if they should do it. Here's an example. So Sarah, Dr. Smith's surgery days are on Wednesdays and Fridays. Which of those days works better for you? Now, the reassurance approach gives reassurance as well as logic they can use to explain to their friends and family why they chose you over anyone else they may have recommended. For example, Sarah, you'll be in excellent hands. Dr. Smith is one of the most respected surgeons in this area, and he's performed over 500 of these procedures with great results. He even trains other physicians to perform this procedure. Should we go ahead and schedule it? I can get you in next Friday, or would you prefer to wait until next month? Now, it's human nature to want something we can't have, so use that scarcity trigger to your advantage. For example, Sally, just so you know, Dr. Smith is very popular and he's typically booked out 3 to 4 weeks. However, I see 2 surgery dates are still available this month. Are you interested? Now, another approach is to assume they are saying yes, and now the only question is how they would like to pay for it. For example, so Karen, did you want to go with our 0% interest financing program I prepared for you, or use your own credit card? Now, if there's any resistance, just ask more questions by being curious. For example, Connie, I can see you're hesitant. What is it? Maybe I can help you. So, do you ever hear, I have to think about it? Of course you have. 7 out of 10 times, the cost-benefit analysis they are doing in their heads is not working out. So they don't see the value they will get for the downtime, cost, hassle, or emotional benefit. Or for whatever reason, they have not yet determined you are the right choice for them yet. Usually the reason they have to think about it is money, time, or they're not sure you're the perfect choice. Now, the best way to stay out of this situation is to spend more time at the front end, preparing for the close, than playing catch up now at the back end. However, the best thing you can do now is to back up a little bit by saying, Karen, does this make sense to you? Do you like this idea? Because if they say yes, you want to be curious again and continue. because you want to be sure there's nothing else stopping them from making a decision. And you can find that out by asking, is there anything else? So if they say it was about the time and you address it, the next thing you say is there anything else? So if they say, no, that's it, just the time, just address that time concern and then ask for the decision again. Okay? So let's talk about handling objections. Here's one simple technique you can use for almost any objection. Now, it's been around forever because it's easy to remember and it helps the patient move to a decision. It's called the feel, felt, found method, and it goes like this. I know exactly how you feel, Sarah. So many of our patients felt the same way you do, and what they found was that they loved their result and they wish they had done it sooner. There's a saying, let me give you a different approach. There's a saying that goes, to be understood, you must first understand. The words I understand are powerful. They tell the patient you hear them and you understand what they're saying and feeling. That does not mean you agree. It just means you heard them. So no matter what the patient says, you saying, I understand, takes away the pushback from the patient. Now that they know you heard them, they'll be more receptive to a different point of view. So use the word and to help redirect them to another way to look at it. For example, yes, Connie, I understand what you're saying. And Barb in our office said exactly the same thing when she had it done. But then she was thrilled with her result, even though it took a little bit longer to heal. Do you want to talk to her about it? How about the old, I have to talk to others? That typically means I want to shop around, or maybe they just want to do their due diligence. So you can save these patients time by responding with, Sarah, just so you know, we're competitively priced with the other board-certified plastic surgeons in the area who have similar amounts of experience. Now, I think we're all painfully aware of this. Prospective patients are getting much bolder about negotiating, especially if they come from the internet. You need to decide ahead of time how much wiggle room you will allow for negotiations. Then the number one rule is do not bad talk competitors. Stay professional, but do reiterate why you're the best choice. For example, Sally, Dr. Smith bases his prices on his extensive years of skill and expertise with this procedure. He's performed this procedure more than 550 times and has even trained other physicians on it. So I'm confident you'll get the result you want at this fair price. Because oftentimes the prospective patients are just testing you to see if you're open to negotiating with them, but the majority of your preferred patients are simply looking for a good result at a fair price. On the other hand, thanks to Groupon and every single deal out there in today's world, the average consumer is now more price sensitive and open to negotiating. So if you're in that situation, make small concessions to show you're committed to helping them get what they want, but it doesn't have to be a discount. Try added value instead. For example, Connie, Dr. Smith doesn't drop his prices, but what if I could persuade him to remove those moles that bother you at no charge while you're in surgery? How does that sound? Okay, we covered a lot, so let me recap the steps to a consultation that leads to a yes. It's about building rapport, find the need, and then add emotions to it. Position the physician and the practice. Repeat what the prospective patient wants and then give it to them if you can. Ask for a decision. Handle objections by asking more questions. And then ask for a decision again. So converting is simply asking questions to help the patient make a decision. And if all the steps are followed, a decision is the next logical step. But then you've got to leave the door open for them to comfortably return at a later date because they might just be saying not now or not yet. Okay? Now, I'm going to open this up to questions. So please type them into the question box to the right of your screen, and they're going to stay anonymous. And while you're doing that, I just want to make a comment here. I realized I covered a lot here. It took me years of research and experience and working with hundreds of practices to come up with the right words to say for a variety of consultation situations. And I'm offering you those scripts and strategies I know to work effectively. Please practice You might sound a little awkward the first few times, and then it becomes second nature to you. And just so you know, a console converting rock star is not born. They're educated and trained to be professional. They take their job seriously, and they do their best with the tools they've been given. You now have those tools. So let's answer some questions to make sure you're clear about what I just went over. How do you address poor internet reviews? All right, that's a different topic. One of the biggest issues is, here it is in a nutshell. The patients who are pissed off are more than motivated to go online and complain. Isn't that right? That's why you need to spend a whole lot more time focusing on the ecstatic patients who love you and who would totally write a review for you if motivated to do so. We all know you can't pay for reviews, but boy, can you do a lot more. You have a lot more control over positive reviews by actually asking the patients to do you a favor, give you a review, give them the tools they need to give you a good review, because a good review is not, oh, I love the doctor, he's great. A really good review is a lot more than that. And then you've got to thank them for it, because behavior that is rewarded is repeated. Do you need to send a package for patients that want, before the consult or after? Do you need to send a package for patients that not want surgery or want surgical treatments before the consult or after? You might have been late to the call. The whole point, honestly, here's the pearl. You have got to send that shock and awe welcome package before the consultation. That's why you're getting all this, I'll think about it. You're giving them too much to consider sitting right in front of you. They can't think when they're sitting in front of you. You've got to let them think before they get there, and you've got to pre-frame you as the best choice over all the others. So my answer is yes, you need to send the package ahead of time. On the smaller items, I wouldn't take anything for granted in today's world. So even if it's not surgical, if it's just minimally invasive, what I might do is not send out the hard copy shock and awe package, but I would certainly send out a streamed PDF email with a link in it. And what I mean by that is you would stream together pieces like Meet the Doctor, your menu of services, your cancellation policy, your patient testimonials, some before and after photos. You would get your designer to stream all those into a PDF. And then in your email, you could have a link called www.ouraestheticpractice.com/meet us. And that way, the patient that's coming in will get a welcome email from you saying, oh, thanks so much. We really look forward to meeting you. And here's a link to learn more about us before you get here. And then they click on it and boom, there's your brag piece. That really helps not only pre-frame you as a really good best choice for them, it also helps them show up for these consultations. We all know show-ups are getting to be, difficult. How do you capture rate shoppers over the phone? By the way, this online training was strictly for patient coordinators. I do another training twice a year called How to Convert More Consults, How to Turn Your Phone Calls into Profits. So that's a different one. But stopping rate shoppers over the phone is there's an art to that. And I'm sorry, you'll just have to wait for my next training on that one. Okay, so someone's trying to clarify saying, regarding the reviews, they say, I mean patients who call you after their consultation regarding a poor review that they read online. Now, I am hoping that they're calling the patient coordinator about this. Let me back up here for a second. Quite a few practices still have a setup where the doctor is the doctor and the patient coordinator. Let me just give you my 2 cents on that. When this comes to females especially, I will just talk about females in general at the moment because we're still 85% of the market and 85% of your patient base typically, unless you're running a different kind of practice. Patients, females, want to have somebody to befriend and want a friend in that, an aesthetic advisor, I'll call them that, in the practice. They want a friend to turn to when they have questions or they need clarification. They cannot be honest as upfront and honest as they can be with a patient coordinator as they can be with the doctor. The doctor is still on a pedestal to the patient's framework. They're never going to tell the doctor certain things that they're going to tell their friend in the practice. I highly, highly recommend you looking at your processes and seeing if a patient coordinator could help you out a lot. I know a lot of the doctors think they're really good at this, and they probably are, but the next question becomes, is this really the best use of your time to be closing when you could get somebody else to do that and you stay focused on the clinical side and doing your best work? So that's just a little food for thought. So when the patient calls you and says, I saw a bad review, I hope they're calling the coordinator, because the coordinator needs to be prepared for that. And the coordinator, who's their friend, says, you know what, Sarah, you know how these reviews are. Somebody's unhappy. We can't talk about it, but because we can't talk about that kind of stuff. But that patient might have been unhappy, and I can't tell you why, but it really, we have hundreds and thousands of patients who are happy. We just can't make everybody happy. But I know that the doctor met with you and he thinks you're the perfect candidate for this procedure. And he's really confident that he can get you the result you're looking for. And then let it go. You can't berate your competition, and you also can't brag yourself into, the patient going with you. You just have to be very confident about your comeback. I hope that helps. Do you find that offering incentives for prepaying or cash or booking within 1 or 2 weeks is beneficial or detrimental? Here's the thing. When it comes to discounting on the spot, that's what I'm going to call this, discounting on the spot. After you get off of this online training, I would actually have a team meeting with the doctor and decide what kind of practice you want. You cannot cater to every price shopper and looky-loo patient and flaky person on the planet. You will run out of time, money, and patience dealing with people who just are not right for you, okay? I would really stop and consider, what kind of practice are we going to run here? Personally, I would rather you run a more quality practice with preferred patients who care more about the doctor's credentials and skills and expertise than they care about saving a buck. Those people are not helpful to growing a practice for the long run. Now, the next question is, where are you finding these patients? Because I know I've had decades of sales and marketing. One thing I do know, those people aren't showing up by accident. You're attracting them. So I would look at your marketing efforts to see, why are your patients so concentrated on money versus, gee, is this surgeon any good? That's really a food for thought there. So offering incentives, here's the deal. You have to read people. If you know you've got this patient on board and you know they're going to be a good patient, they're a good candidate, everything's great, but now they're asking for a little something, what I would do is offer them a concession. Never give somebody a discount just because. You give them a discount because they're willing to do something for you. So you're both willing to meet in the middle. For example, you're at the consultation, the patient's getting a little, what can you do for me about this? So I can say yes right this second. I would have something in my back pocket, something like, well, Sarah, here's a thought. Our OR fees are less during the week in the afternoon. If you're able to have your surgery during the week on the afternoon, I can actually give you a $500 discount. How does that sound? Right? That's pretty creative. And I'm just making stuff up, but that's really creative. Think outside the box. Sometimes, I promise you, the patient is just they're just asking to ask. And frankly, some of them really do want a discount. They want to say yes to you, but they've got that somebody in their back pocket who gave them $1,000 discount. So they're saying, well, what can you do? Can you do the same? That's an issue. You have to either be such a good provider to them that they are so confident that you're $1,000 better than the other person, or you've got to be willing to do something about them and meet them halfway. And that's just kind of the reality in today's world. Okay, What's the best strategy for follow-up with a patient who doesn't book but still expresses interest, but just needs more time? Here's the pearl on that one. Whenever the patient's saying, I really do have to think about it, because that's actually realistic. I mean, some people really do have to think about it. Your best bet is to schedule that follow-up call now at the consultation, not later, not when you call them and you're running after them. You, during the consultation, say, you know what, Sarah, it seems like you need to think about it, and that's fine. Let's do this. Why don't I give you a call at the same time and then pick a day? Like, why don't I call you the same time on this Friday? Let's say the consultation was on Tuesday. I personally wouldn't wait a week. That's too long. I would wait maybe 2 days and say, you know what, let me give you a couple days to think about it. Why don't I go ahead and call you on Thursday at the same time? Now, should I call your cell or should I call your home? Something like that. That way they're expecting your call and they're expecting you to follow up. This also forces the patient coordinator, you, to put it on your calendar and actually call back. I do know this can feel a little salesy and a little aggressive. That's why you want to make it part of your process and you want to get the emotions out of it. If it's on your calendar to call Sarah at 2 o'clock to get her feedback, that's another really good pearl. You don't call Sarah and say, I'm calling to follow up. A better pearl is to say, hey, Sarah, I'm calling to get your feedback from our consultation. What do you think? And then zip it and let her talk. That's a really good pearl, by the way. Okay. I'm getting quite a few of those kind of questions, like the patient is hesitant, but they're not saying yes, but they're not saying no. They're just kind of fooling around. They're squirming around. Well, at this point, honestly, I would be candid. I would talk honestly, and I would talk candidly to the prospective patient. You do not want them walking out the door, if you can help it, before you understand what their thought process is. So what the heck? Why not be candid? Why don't you just say something like, you know what, Sarah, I know this is a big decision. I understand how big of a decision this is, but I've helped so many other patients think about it, and I'd like to help you too. Just tell me, what exactly do you want to think about? And maybe I have a new perspective for you, or maybe I can add some value there. And another one I love, when you're at your end and you just don't know what else to say, I would just put down the pen, sit back and say, you know what, Sarah, what do you want? Because I have a very strong sales background and I've been completely sales trained by every organization on the planet. And there's this motivational speaker, he died recently, but he was called Zig Ziglar. And he said, you'll get what you want when you give others what they want. So what the heck, if you feel like you're losing someone, you have nothing to lose anyway, just go for it. Sarah, what do you want? Maybe I can get it for you. That's a really good one. Okay. Let's see.
I'm gonna knock you out.
Oh, I've heard this one a lot. We previously had a pretty bad patient coordinator, and we still have a year's worth of solid leads, patients ready to schedule surgery. What's the best way to follow up with them? Wow, that's a really good question. First of all, that's a really good problem to have, but now you are in the defense mode because these people spent their time to come to see you and they gave you these leads and you guys dropped the ball. That's a problem because you've already shown that you don't have any credibility, you don't have any integrity, you flaked out, and that's an issue. In this, your best bet on this one is to go with the apology. My belief is I, again, would go with, we screwed up, we took care of the problem. I know when I was in sales a long time ago, I would take the territory of somebody who was awful, just like this situation, and I would go in and say, I've replaced Susan. We got some feedback about Susan. She wasn't a good fit for our company, and that's why I have been brought in to basically save the day and make you completely confident and comfortable with our company. Why not do the same thing? Why don't you just send a heartfelt communication? And I mean heartfelt. I personally would put this in a letter before I start making any phone calls. I'd put it in a letter. I would just keep it short and sweet and say, Dear Sarah, you did have a consultation or you expressed interest in our practice and we dropped the ball. We just, there's no excuse for it. We dropped the ball, but we are back now. I am the patient coordinator who has been assigned to make sure you get what you need from us. I would love to speak with you, and I would even go so far as to, give them some type of a nudge, like I'd love to schedule a free consultation with you, or a free call with you, or come on back for a facial just to see we really are great. And then after your facial, we can talk about, other needs you have. Really get creative about this. Meet with your team. But I would go with the I'm sorry and please come back. That's your approach I'd go with. Let's see. The last one, I'm still getting the no-show issue coming up. So this will be my last one. Here's what I would do about the no-shows. They're becoming a very big issue because there's a no-show issue because they don't know you. They don't have a relationship with you. They could care less if they show up or not show up. So if it's a big deal in your office, I would certainly get people's credit cards. But what I would do is be real about this. There's a chance there are others in your geography that do not charge. Your competitors don't charge a fee, so you think you're going to be losing out, right? So here's how I would handle that. Number one, decide what kind of practice you want. Your preferred patients who are dead serious about going to you and saying yes to you will give you a credit card to hold their spot. But you don't have to call it a consult fee. If your goal is not to make money, it's just to make sure they show up, call it a reservation fee and don't charge them unless they don't show up. Just pre-frame it and talk about it differently, so you're not like price gouging them. You just want them to show up for their appointment because you take their time as seriously as you take your own time. So just call it something different. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's it. I really look forward to your feedback. Would you do me a favor if you have any other questions and, of course, your feedback, and then anything else you want to learn more about, any other topics, I would love to prepare more online trainings for you. So tell me what you want, and I'd be happy to get that for you. And you just send an email to Catherine@cosmeticimagemarketing.com. Okay? So I hope that's been helpful to you. I hope you got a ton of value. I can't wait to hear from you. And by the way, you're going to be getting a follow-up packet from us. It's a USPS priority envelope, and in that is your DVD replay. And I would like all of you to do it together as a team and then brainstorm how you can take these strategies and make them your own. You're also going to get the slides with the wording on them, so you can just use my wording, use my scripts, they work. And you're going to get a bonus called the Cliff Notes, How to Convert More Patient Consultations. And for you who are old enough, the Cliff Notes was you take a 600-page book and you make it into these Cliff Notes that are like 20 pages. And that's how I got through school, because I have, a short attention span. So I always read the Cliff Notes so I could get through the darn books quickly. And so that's what I did for you. My Cliff Notes is a compilation of what I just went over here, but in an easy to follow format. Okay? And you should be arriving next week. And in that, you also get a 30-minute free strategy call with me so we can talk more about some of the questions that came up for you. Okay? So I hope that's helpful, and I will talk to you later. Take care. Bye.